And India's perfect World Cup continues, and what was supposed to be the top table clash turned out to be the most anticlimactic game of the tournament so far. But welcome to the shiny side, where we look back at India's win over South Africa. And we have with us today once again Umair Qazi. How are you doing, Umair?
I'm doing well, Faris. Thank you for having me again. How are you?
Very well. Why don't you kick things off with a 33-second summary of the game?
Sure.
Start.
Let me know when to start. So Rohit Sharma won the toss and did the right thing by choosing to bat first against South Africa. And he came out all guns blazing. He scored 24 ball 40. India posted 50 in the first fourth over. They posted 50. He was smashing it all over the park. And once he departed, Gill took over. Gill hit a few boundaries. And then after Gill left, then I think the run rate dropped a bit. And I think the pitch got a bit more difficult later on as well. But Virat Kohli, as long as he's out there, India are set for a good total. And India got to 325, 320 odd, which is always going to be a winning total. People were saying the pitch report, they had said that something over 220 had only been chased once or twice at Kolkata. So it's always going to be a difficult chase. But South Africa just collapsed, 83 odd. 80 odd, and I think 83 all out. So yeah, easy win for India. Should have been a closer game, but no, India completely dominated them.
Cool. That was 1 minute. So, yeah, I guess if you start off at the toss, right? I mean, India went unchanged, which probably is, I guess, as I expected. South Africa, the only question was Shamsi in for one of the quicks, right? They got Shamsi in for Kudza. So, what was your thought at that point about that decision?
It was completely right. I mean, look at how much turn the pitch was taking. They read the pitch correctly. So going with two spinners was the right call. And Shamsi bowled well. Maharaj bowled well. They're the ones who curtailed the Indian scoring. The paces were getting hit all around, all over the park.
And South Africa obviously have a preference for batting first, right? They like to do that. They have been very good at it. Yeah. While India probably has a slightly less. India also has a preference for chasing, but it's not as strong as South Africa's is, right? They're probably much more happy doing either. So do you think the toss decision to bat first was completely about South Africa, or was it more about the pitch and the conditions, regardless of what Rohit said?
No, I think it would have been a mix of both things. The pitch and the conditions for sure. South Africa probably as well. But you see, I've noticed something about India. Look at the first five matches. Their first five matches, they won the toss and they chose to field first. Yeah. I think maybe one match someone put them in, asked them to chase, but otherwise they've opted to chase. And Rohit Sharma was clear that is what they want to do. Then they played the last three matches where they have batted first, right?
Yeah.
And twice they have chosen to bat first.
Yeah.
And both times Rohit has said that this is what we're looking to do now as a team. So I think their preference is chasing, which is what they started the tournament with. But then when qualification became clear, they're probably now thinking about batting first and seeing how that goes. Because come the knockouts, it'll be very difficult for a batsman to choose to chase. Yeah. In a knockout, it's very tricky. You want to bat first and have that pressure on the opposing team. So I think that is what India is doing. I could be wrong, but this is the feeling I have.
Yeah, and also I guess what they also means is I guess they also want to make sure they're prepared, right? So if they go through chasing throughout the whole tournament, come to a knockout and there's a bat first situation, they want to be ready for that. But I guess there's three things I want to talk about. I think once again today showed how important Rohit's start is for India, right? Because Rohit got about 40 and 24 only, and when he got out, India was 62 for 1 in 6 overs. And clearly he seems to be the only guy in the top order who can take on any bowling like he does. He either gets out or he does that. And once he got out, so I think in the next, like Kohli and Gill got out soon after, and Kohli and Shreyas really started off slow, and Maharaj, and I think it was Rabada at that time, they really managed to keep things tight. So I think that start he gave them really allowed them to kind of really ease into the innings. And it seems like Rohit somehow bats on a different pitch entirely when he's in this form.
Yeah, that's what that kind of start does, You are 10 and over, you've got 60 or 6 overs. You can literally play out maybe the next 4 overs as maidens. Yeah. I mean, 60 for one after the power play is a decent score. That's what most teams are getting. So it allows the other batsmen to ease into the innings and go big. But yeah, Rohit Sharma is batting it on another planet, man. No one is hitting them like he is in the power plays. Besides,
And Kohli got his 100, obviously he got his 49th 100 level with Sachin. Massive day for him on his 35th birthday. But also he was 75 of 95 at one point. And so clearly he was also kind of struggling to time the ball to some extent, if I can say that, right? He was struggling to keep the run rate ticking. Even Shreyas Iyer finished on 77 of 87. Given that they had wickets in hand and the platform was there, it clearly wasn't the easiest pitch to bat on.
It definitely was not. And I was reading these comments on different forums and WhatsApp chats. People are talking about Kohli being selfish, playing for his 100, and God knows what. I mean, who are all these people? Do they have any idea what they're talking about? Are they even watching the match? I mean, Kohli got a free hit and he could not hit it because Shamsi turned it square and the ball hit his stomach. I mean, it was not an easy pitch. It was just unplayable, almost unplayable, especially against spin. So it was very difficult, and kudos to India. I mean, getting to 320 odd here. This was not a pitch where anything above 250, 260 was possible by any other team.
And I think, again, underscores the importance of, this is an ODI, not a T20. So you have time, play time, play for time, and you can catch up in the end. And I guess, the partnership between Kohli and Shreyas Iyer was, again, it was about 130 partnership at about 5 and over. But at the end of that partnership, they were 227 with 13 overs to go, and they managed to add another about 100 odd or so, right, in the last 13. So it's not South Africa level exposure, but it clearly got the job done on a tricky track today. And in terms of South Africa's bowling, so again, Maharaj gave only 30 in his 10. He bowled unchanged after the power play. He was really good. With the ball, he got the wicket with early on. He got Gill with looked like the ball of the day, but then I think Jadeja bowled like 6 of those after that. So maybe he wasn't. But I think I would say the last thing for India, which probably is great news for them, is I feel like maybe the one guy who hadn't really come to the party so far is Jadeja. But today, first with the bat, right? In the end, he was the one who got 29 of 15. He set them up for that big total. And then with the ball as well, I got a five wicket haul. So clearly, him getting back into confidence with the bat as well probably is good news for India.
Yeah, it definitely is, especially with the bat. With the ball, look, even though he's not taken 4 or 5 wicket hauls, but there are a couple of matches where I think he took 3 wickets each. But he's always been chipping into the wickets and he's been super economical. So as a bowler, he's right up there. His batting had been struggling for some time. But today, and I think he got 17 or 18 of the last over. So it was pretty good for India.
Yeah, I think I'm glad for Kohli's sake he's not a Pakistani, because had Babar Azam scored 100 or 120, our media and fans would have given him a hard time on Twitter, right?
Yeah, you won't believe it. There's so many of them who are giving him a hard time on social media right now. I mean, I just don't get it. Ye log kya dekhte hai, yaar?
Seriously. And now you see South Africa bat, right? So you know what the pitch was like.
Exactly.
But South Africa's batting, I don't even know what to make of it, right? The 83 all out. I mean, Siraj got decocked earlier than inside, but since there was basically the spinners who took over from there, and they couldn't really do much. I mean, what's your take on that? On how they batted and folded, really?
Yeah, look, again, South Africa, when it comes to chasing, they're extremely nervous, and they just don't know how to chase. And even if this was an even pitch, a true pitch, I don't think South Africa would have been able to chase. They may not have folded for 83. Maybe they would have got 200 odd or whatever. But I think South Africa really struggles when it comes to chasing. And that's a big problem for them. They need to sort it out. And I think it's just nerves. It is just nerves. That's all.
As far as the tournament's concerned now, so India is cemented as they'll be finishing one. Even regardless of what happened in the last game. South Africa are sitting on 12 points with 1 game to go against Afghanistan. And Australia is on 10 with 2 games. So theoretically, Australia could finish ahead of them. But having said that, if you're 2 or 3, essentially you play the same team, right? So it doesn't really make a difference. I mean, and of course, the 4th spot is still most likely between New Zealand, most likely, but Afghanistan and Pakistan behind them as well. So I mean, that's probably a lot needs to happen for that. But
yeah, it's exciting to see who the 4th team would be. But look, I think South Africa Australia semi-final is set in stone. I think that's going to happen. Definitely. And I already see Australia in the final of this World Cup.
Yeah, that's true. And to be honest, I mean, since that day, Australia, the way they came back and beat Sri Lanka, and since then they've just been on a roll, right? So I think they could literally go all the way. I mean, I know it's hard to look past India at this point, but Australia is looking really strong, right? Because South Africa has shown why they're good, but why they're exciting, but they've also shown where they're vulnerable very often now in this tournament.
Exactly. And look, had South Africa been facing any team in the semi, say a New Zealand or Pakistan,
Yeah.
even India, any other team, I would have backed South Africa to play the first ever World Cup final. But the fact that they're up against Australia, Australia will never fold in a semi against South Africa. I mean, they're so much more mentally tougher. Their never say die attitude. And ऑस्ट्रेलिया यार कोई भी 11 ले आओ ऑस्ट्रेलिया के वो कुछ ना कुछ करके सेमी में
Doesn't
पहुंच के
matter.
फाइनल खेल ही जाते हैं यार आई डोंट नो कहाँ से वो प्रोड्यूस करते हैं ये बट कमाल है but
Yeah.
yeah I don't see I see that yeah I don't see South Africa topping Australia
I don't know if you know this, but Stoinis gave an interview after they beat Australia, they beat Pakistan in that semi-final in Dubai, right? And he said when he came in, he asked Matthew Wade what's happening, and Matthew Wade just said, he said, they're nervous, we're calm. That's all he said to him. And he said that's literally how they went on to finish that game.
yeah,
But but okay, good stuff. So one more thing, by the way, we haven't had you on, of course, since Pakistan had that crazy win yesterday. Any thoughts on 24 hours later since Fakhar's knock?
Unbelievable. I am still reeling from that victory. I just can't believe that it's happened. And of course, I'm super happy. Great result for Pakistan. Gutted for anyone who's a New Zealand fan. Poor guys, I don't know what they're going through. But yeah, I mean, what a win. You know, I mean, you may have seen there were some pictures of me flying around on WhatsApp. I was holding my head throughout Pakistan's bowling innings. And that is what I was like throughout. I mean, we got hit for 400. I could not understand what's going on. And I was sure there's no way we're chasing this.
Yeah, of course.
We've never scored 400 in our lives batting first. 400 in ODI in 50 years has been chased once.
Yeah.
We're not breaking 2 records in one day. You know, so I was resigned to the fact that that's it, World Cup campaign over, bet hota. Fakhar started hitting and people were exciting. Chakke maar rahe, main chupchap baitha hu. I go, okay, he started hitting, great. Let's see how long this goes. And then it just kept going. Then Babar started. Then Babar kept going. Then Fakhar kept going. Then suddenly we're 150 for 1 after 20 overs. I was like, man, we're winning this. So at that stage, I said, we're chasing this total down. Then the rain came and the target got revised and then they came back. Then rain came back again and we won by DLS. I think in hindsight, I feel we got robbed of probably the greatest ever innings in a World Cup and the greatest ever chase in a World Cup. We will never know, but it was epic, absolutely epic and unbelievable.
As relieved as I am, I really would have, as part of me, liked to see how that game would have panned out, right? Because 200 for 1 in 25 overs is not a joke, right? And it was. I mean,
and I've never seen Pakistan do that.
Yeah, exactly. So chasing 2 and getting 200 of 150 is not that complicated, right? Regardless of we've already done the hardest part, and Fakhar was in the zone. So again, like you said, we will never know the answer to that question, but would love to see.
And you know, I mean, and I've been discussing this with so many people since yesterday, and the moment Fakhar gets out, the momentum goes away because there's no one else in that batting lineup who can continue with the same sort of tempo, right? I mean, fine, Rizwan can bat, Iftikhar, so they can all play aggressive, but they can't get you the kind of runs that Fakhar does. So Fakhar was key, and the way he was going, he could have probably batted out, scored a double hundred. I don't know where he would have ended up.
I mean, again, like you said, the chances that Pakistan would have, I mean, to be honest, right before the second rain break came, if I had to put money, and I know I'm probably biased, but I would have definitely put money on Pakistan. We were definitely on top, and so I think DLS doesn't lie.
But New Zealand had no idea what hit them.
Yeah, and I think the funny thing is, I was thinking about this, right? So to Pakistan's, to make it easy for them to qualify, the New Zealand-Sri Lanka game, either Sri Lanka wins that or it was washed out. What's interesting is in the last World Cup, New Zealand, our game against Sri Lanka was washed out, which robbed us of a point potentially, which is why New Zealand actually made it. Right? So I think maybe it's time for that to be offset, but let's see. Interesting, but okay, good stuff. Yeah, of course. Tomorrow is another game. It's important. Is it important? I don't know if it is. Bangladesh is taking on Sri Lanka. I guess I'm keen to see how Sri Lanka does because I hope they restore their confidence before their big game against New Zealand. It's in Delhi. Any thoughts on this game? Pick a favorite?
It's in Delhi.
Yeah.
It's in Delhi. Wow. Delhi se who? Ben Stokes.
So
going around.
Yes. Do you want to pick a winner for this one?
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka, yeah. Hard look any other way.
And I want them to win also with confidence so that they come into the New Zealand game with
exactly. That's the only relevance this game has now, right, in this tournament. But moving on, before we wrap up.
Delhi means it's going to be high scoring. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a very
True.
good pitch.
So Sri Lanka could be posting 350 batting first, but let's see. So the question for the day is: prior to today, India and South Africa have faced each other 5 times in the ODI World Cup. How many games has South Africa won?
I really have no idea, but let me try and guess. So prior to today, so 19 India, 15, 11, 2007, no, 92. Oh man, 96, 99. This is a difficult one. I think South Africa have won one.
South Africa won 3.
Uh-huh.
So India has only won the last 2, meaning in 2019 and 15. Before that, they hadn't beaten South Africa in a World Cup. They even lost to South
Really?
Africa in the World Cup, which they won. If you remember, that's the only game India lost in 2011.
Oh,
But
yes, they did lose one game, but I didn't
yes,
remember South Africa.
exactly.
Okay, yeah,
Good stuff.
haven't paid much notice to these two teams.
Good stuff. But thank you, Umair, for being on the show once again.
Thank you, Fariz. Thanks a lot for having me
And
again.
if you like our video, please like the video. If you want to share a comment on what India's 11 should be going into the semi-final, please leave a comment. And if you want to talk about South Africa's chances, please leave a comment for that as well. We'll be back once again tomorrow after the game. In the meantime, stay tuned to the shiny side.